Eric pursued his new love with enormous fanfare. Drones formed the shape of a heart, and 99,000 roses covered the square. The heirloom necklace Eric's family reserved for their daughter-in-law hung around the girl's neck. A friend asked in a low voice, "Eric, you're humiliating Helen like this. Aren't you afraid she'll fall out with you?" Eric held his new love in his arms and smiled carelessly. "If she falls out with me, then so be it. If we break up, even better. I can give Amelia a proper status." Later, late at night, he called. Leo answered the phone. "Mr. Eric." His voice was calm and composed. "Helen is asleep. If there's anything, I can pass the message for you." Eric gripped the phone, and his eyes instantly reddened. Chapter 1. Eric made a grand public confession to Amelia, and everyone was waiting to see me show up and wreck the scene. But even when night fell, I never appeared. Someone said, "Helen has been spoiled and arrogant for so many years. Now she's finally learned to be gentle and obedient." Someone immediately chimed in, "Isn't it because her family is declining? Even Miss Helen knows how to read the room now." Eric didn't like hearing those words. His brows furrowed slightly, but he didn't stop them. His new love, Amelia, was pressing herself against him, her soft arms wrapped around his arm. He lowered his head and scrolled through his phone. His chat with Helen was still stopped at 3 days ago. Helen had asked, "What will it take for you to give me that heart?" Helen's father had been waiting for that heart for a long time. The match had been successful, the surgery had been scheduled, and all their hopes had been placed on that heart. But Amelia had leaned against his chest and said her grandmother couldn't wait either. Eric had been in high spirits at the time, and he also wanted to make Helen lower her head and behave. So he sent the heart into the operating room for Amelia's grandmother. Amelia saw the message Helen had sent. She took his phone, typed a few words on the screen, then giggled as she held it up for him to see. "Kowtow 100 times, and I'll give you the heart." Eric pinched her cheek. "You little devil. What if she really does kowtow? The heart is already gone." Amelia laughed lightly and innocently. "Miss Helen is so proud. How could she possibly kowtow?" Eric thought that made sense. After that, Amelia hooked her arms around his neck, and he forgot about the matter. For the next 2 days, Amelia found all kinds of ways to cling to him, and he had no time to think of Helen again. At some point, Helen sent over a video. In the video, she kowtowed again and again, counting each one as she did, a full 100 times. Blood flowed down Helen's fair face. Eric stared at the screen, his heart feeling as if something had clenched around it. The video ended. Eric's hands were ice cold, and panic surged through his heart. He ignored the breakup message that came after the video and called Helen. No one answered. He called again. Still, no one answered. He felt somewhat displeased. In the past, even when they were fighting, Helen would never refuse to answer his calls. He thought of her face covered in blood in the video and suppressed the impulse to throw his phone. Patiently, he typed a line. "How is your father now? I'll immediately have someone find a new heart source." There was no reply. He called his assistant again. "Speed up the search for a heart that matches Helen's father, no matter the cost." The assistant paused on the other end of the phone. At that moment, Amelia draped one leg over him, her hands slipping into his shirt and pressing against his chest. Heat rose through his body. He told his assistant to hurry up and handle it, then hung up. It would be fine once a new heart source was found. He thought that once a new heart source was found, Helen probably wouldn't be angry with him anymore. Helen had never been willing to stay angry with him for too long. Chapter 2. After Dad fell asleep, I reminded the caregiver to take good care of him, then gently closed the door to the ward. In the corridor, Leo was still sitting on the bench. He wore a light gray coat. His figure was tall and slender, and his long legs were slightly curled up, making him look a little wronged. His eyes were closed, and there was a faint weariness on his face. When he was asleep, he didn't look as stern as he usually did. There was even an indescribable gentleness about him. I suspected that my eyes were playing tricks on me. How could this person have anything to do with gentleness? 3 days ago, my father was about to undergo surgery, but the heart Eric had promised still had no news. The attending doctor said we couldn't wait any longer. I begged Eric, hoping that for the sake of all our years together, and for the sake of how well my father had treated him, he would let the surgery go ahead. He said, kowtow 100 times. In a corner of the hospital, I kowtowed 100 times, recorded a video, and sent it to him. He never replied. I called countless times, but no one ever answered. Just when I was in despair, Leo appeared before me. He looked at my miserable state and handed me a handkerchief. Miss Helen, the medical institution under my name happens to have a heart source suitable for your father. His gaze paused on me for an instant. He said, he can use it first, but I need you to agree to one condition. On one side was the doctor's urging, on the other was the hope of survival. At that time, even if he had wanted my life, I would have nodded. But what he said was that he needed a wife. I didn't understand. Leo, the head of a major conglomerate, what kind of woman couldn't he have? Why me? Could it be that my pretty face had captivated the high-end mighty Leo? As my thoughts ran wild, I had already moved closer to him. He still hadn't woken up. His eyelashes were very long, and I couldn't help reaching out and gently touching them. Leo abruptly opened his eyes. Those eyes were dark and deep, frightening me so much that I stepped back and almost fell. Leo reached out and caught me. His palm was warm, his fingers long and slender, steadily clasping my wrist. I'm sorry, Mr. Leo. I hurriedly steadied myself. He let go, his fingertips tapping lightly twice on his knee. His gaze faint as he looked at me. Helen, this isn't fair. I don't make losing deals. We've already gotten our marriage certificate. Yet you're still calling me Mr. Leo. He sighed softly. That makes me feel like I haven't received the treatment I deserve. Chapter 3. Under the pale white light. Leo's features were clear and smooth. In truth, he wasn't very old. Not even 30 yet. But his aura was too cold and steady, and combined with his reputation, it always made me feel as if an entire generation separated us. Only now, when he said those words, did I clearly realize that he was only 6 years older than me. 1 day ago, we had registered our marriage. We were legally married. My face suddenly felt a little hot. A term of address that was too intimate was really impossible to say. I hesitated and called softly, Leo. The corners of his lips lifted slightly. This will do for now. I didn't think too much about it. Leo said, you've been watching over him here for 2 days, and Dad's surgery was very successful. Go back and rest tonight. I originally wanted to refuse, but when I thought of what I ought to give in return, I nodded. Leo's house was very large, but I was too nervous and had no attention to spare to carefully look at this mansion that fashion magazines called the essence of Chinese garden design. I'll go wash up first. Oh, okay. Watching Leo walk into the bathroom, I felt a little unable to breathe. Although we had gotten our marriage certificate, this was only the second time we had truly met. The times when I had glimpsed him from afar at banquets didn't count. The afternoon of the day we registered, he had flown abroad, and he had only just returned today. I took out my phone. On the screen were several missed calls and messages, all from Eric. Helen, where are you? Reply to me. I've already had people speed up the search for a new heart source. There was another message, sent an hour ago. Helen, there's a limit to being willful. If you still don't reply, I'll take it that the breakup you mentioned is real. In the past, whenever he said that, I would immediately contact him and stop caring about his entanglements with those actresses and models. But this time, I stared at the screen, and a faint bitterness rose in my heart. The phone suddenly rang. It was Eric calling. I hung up, and he called again. The bathroom door opened. For some reason, I felt guilty and hurriedly turned off my phone. Leo came out wrapped in a bath towel. He was covered tightly. Yet for some reason, it still made my face flush and my heart race. He walked over and sat down beside me. A cool, clean scent instantly took over my sense of smell. I'm going to wash up. I practically sprang up and rushed into the bathroom as if fleeing. The moment I closed the door, I faintly heard someone laugh behind me. Chapter 4. I dawdled in the bathroom, dragging it out until I couldn't drag it out any longer. I couldn't really stay inside the whole night. What had to be faced in the end. I took a deep breath and told myself, legally married, legally sleeping together. I pushed the door open and went out. There were 2 blankets laid out on the bed. Leo was wearing glasses, his head lowered as he read a book. Gold-rimmed frames, calm and focused eyes behind the lenses, long, fair fingers turning the pages. There was a refined, highly intelligent kind of handsomeness to him. It hit my type a little. I stared at the two blankets, and my brain short-circuited. We're not sleeping together? The moment I said it, I regretted it. What nonsense was I saying? Leo put down the book and looked over at me with a deep gaze. Do you trust my self-control too much? Or do you think I'm a beast who rushed back by plane just for this? He paused. Dad just finished surgery. You definitely haven't closed your eyes properly these past few days. Rest well tonight. His gaze swept over the bath towel wrapped around me, and he said slowly, of course, if you want to. I can. My face must have turned completely red. I don't want to. Thank you. I hurriedly climbed onto the bed, dove under the blanket, and wrapped myself up like a silkworm cocoon. The lights went out. In the darkness, his presence felt even stronger instead, his breathing, his body heat, even his heartbeat all seemed to be magnified countless times. I had thought I would be too nervous to sleep, but unexpectedly, my eyelids grew heavier and heavier, and my consciousness felt as if it were being gently pulled away. My last thought before falling asleep was, why did Leo call my dad so naturally? Chapter 5. When I woke up in the morning, Leo had already gone to the company. My phone was full of missed calls from Eric. At 3 in the morning, he had sent a message. Fine, Helen, since you're being this stubborn, don't regret it. After that, a mutual friend sent me a message. It was a screenshot of Eric's Moments post announcing that he and Amelia were about to get engaged. The friend said, Eric still has you in his heart. Just soften up, and you two will make up. After all, you have so many years of feelings between you. I looked at that message and thought of how, over the years, he had lowered my bottom line little by little. That faint bitterness in my heart quickly faded. I replied, from now on, his affairs have nothing to do with me. The moment I blocked all of Eric's contact methods, what I felt more than anything was relief. Rotten flesh, no matter how painful it is, must be cut away ruthlessly. Otherwise, it will make the surrounding flesh rot with it. After putting down my phone, the kitchen auntie came over and told me that Mr. Leo had given instructions early in the morning to prepare liquid food suitable for my father after surgery. I nodded, and my gratitude toward him grew a little more. Although this marriage was a transaction, as a husband, he was truly doing his job well. When I arrived at the hospital, Dad had already woken up. The doctor said he was recovering well. I stayed with him and watched TV. The financial channel was broadcasting a piece of news. Leo, the head of a major conglomerate, had announced that he was married and had not signed a prenuptial property agreement, causing a slight fluctuation in the group's stock price. I froze for a moment. I remembered that on the day we registered our marriage, I had asked him whether he wanted to do a prenuptial agreement. He glanced at me and said, we're not even married yet, and you're already thinking about divorce? Am I that bad? Or do you have no confidence in yourself? His question stumped me, and somehow, in a daze, I registered the marriage with him. Dad looked at the TV and shook his head. This young man is still too young. No prenuptial agreement? What if the other party is a gold digger? He turned his head and reminded me, when you get married in the future, you must sign a prenuptial property agreement. If Eric goes bankrupt, at least you won't be dragged down with him. I lowered my eyes. Dad, Eric and I broke up. Dad froze for a moment, then let out a long breath. Good that you broke up. I always thought he wasn't worthy of you. When Dad recovers and gets the company through this difficulty, we'll recruit a son-in-law. Otherwise, we can do what's popular now, keep the baby, ditch the father. Just as I was about to say something, someone knocked on the door. I looked up and saw Leo standing at the doorway, holding a fruit basket, his gaze falling on me. I had no idea how long he had been listening. Chapter 6. For a moment, I felt the embarrassment of being caught doing something bad. Leo's gaze quickly swept over me and landed on my dad. Mr. Leo? My dad was a little surprised. He was only a nouveau riche businessman from Haicheng. Compared to the Leo conglomerate, even calling it an ant trying to scam an elephant would be flattering him. He hadn't expected someone like Leo to personally come visit him. Seeing that Leo was about to open his mouth and call him dad, I hurriedly spoke first. Leo, Thank you for coming to see my dad. He just finished surgery and can't handle any stimulation. If there's anything you need to say, just tell me. Leo stared at me for a few seconds, making my scalp go numb. He didn't say anything. He put down the fruit basket and turned to my dad. Sir, I'm sorry. I was busy these past few days and couldn't come see you in time. If you need anything in the future, please be sure to tell me. My dad looked as if he had won the lottery, his lips trembling as he had no idea what to say, afraid that the longer Leo stayed, the easier it would be for something to slip. I hurriedly said to my dad, Dad, sleep a little more. I just woke up. The doctor said sleep helps the body recover. Sleep a little longer. My dad could only close his eyes aggrievedly. I signaled for Leo to come outside with me. What did you hear outside? Leo said lightly, not much, just the last sentence about keeping the child and ditching the father. I was extremely embarrassed and hurriedly explained. My dad just watches too many short dramas. Don't misunderstand. He nodded. I didn't misunderstand. After all, the prerequisite for keeping the child and ditching the father hasn't been met yet. I froze for 3 seconds before finally realizing what he meant. The prerequisite for keeping the child was getting pregnant, and the prerequisite for getting pregnant was... My breath caught, and my heartbeat lost its rhythm for several beats. I took a deep breath, steadied myself, and discussed it with him. Can we not tell my dad we're married for now? Leo looked at me. Am I not presentable enough? How could that be? I denied it frantically. It's precisely because you're too presentable. I'm afraid my dad will get too excited, and that won't be good for his heart. Oh, a trace of disappointment appeared on his face. I understand. For now. I have the status but not the name. Me? Was that how that phrase was supposed to be used? He quickly added, my parents want to meet you. When are you free? You told them? He looked at me, his gaze carrying a faint, barely visible resentment. Unlike someone, I've always been open and above board. Someone. Chapter 7. On the way. Leo told me that his parents were a little different and hoped they wouldn't scare me. I felt somewhat uneasy the whole way. My mind filled with scenes from short dramas. Here's 100 million. Leave my son. I even began to feel troubled. If they really gave me 100 million, how should I choose? Such a large sum of cash could at least help my dad's company get through its difficulties first. What are you laughing at? Leo suddenly asked. I pressed down the corners of my lips. I'm not laughing. He looked at me searchingly for a couple of seconds, then said nothing more, even though he had warned me in advance. The moment I met his parents, I still froze. If Leo hadn't called out Dad, Mom and taken the plastic bags and cloth sacks from their hands, I would have thought I had run into garbage collectors. Dad, Mom. I followed him and called out too. Leo's mother looked rather serious, giving me the illusion of facing the dean of students back in school. Leo's father was much gentler, but there was a shrewdness in his eyes, exactly like Leo's. Hello, Helen. You and Leo sit first. We just got back, so we'll tidy up a little. Leo said that after his mother retired, his father had also resigned from his position in the group, and the two of them had gone to a remote area to run a school. One served as the principal, and the other managed the finances. They had just returned today, and the bags contained vegetables given to them by the locals. I admired them sincerely. Teaching and educating people. That's amazing. Leo smiled self-deprecatingly. I'm the most useless one in the family. I resisted the urge to roll my eyes. Are you humble bragging? Leo said. My elder sister is a professor at a top laboratory in the field of biology, determined to develop anti-cancer drugs. My second brother works at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and has high hopes placed on him. Only I'm useless, so I can only inherit the family business. After a moment of silence, I said, is your family still lacking children? Do I look like I could be your younger sister? Leo glanced at me. My family rules don't allow forbidden relationships. Me? Leo's parents came out after changing clothes, elegant and graceful. They handed me an emerald bracelet so green it seemed to drip with water, saying it was a first meeting gift. I didn't dare accept it. Leo's mother held my hand and said, Helen, you must accept it. This child refused to find a partner for so many years that his father and I had already started researching same-sex marriage laws. I looked at Leo's darkened face and couldn't help laughing. I bumped his knee with mine. Your parents are quite open-minded. Did you do something that made them misunderstand? Leo looked at me threateningly. Do you want to test my orientation? Seeing the light rising in his eyes, I quickly surrendered. I withdrew my leg and sat properly. Chapter 8. Helen still hadn't replied. Eric's expression darkened. An unease faintly stirred in his heart. A friend advised him. Why don't you go apologize to Helen? She has always been soft-hearted toward you. The heart her father needed. You gave to someone else. Anyone would be angry. Eric gave a cold laugh. If she's capable, then let her stay stubborn to the end. If we break up, we break up. Whoever asks to get back together is a dog. After saying that, he pulled Amelia into his arms and lowered his head to kiss her on the lips. Baby, shall we get engaged? Amelia agreed with a sweet laugh. His friend frowned. Are you really going to do this? What if Helen truly gives up on you? Don't take things too far. Eric smiled confidently. Helen may look spoiled and arrogant, but in reality, she's terribly stubborn. Other than me, she won't marry anyone else. Besides, her father still needs a heart source. I'll wait for her to come beg me to get back together. He instructed the others. This time, I absolutely won't be easy to talk to. When the time comes, none of you are allowed to speak up for her. Chapter 9. We're still holding a wedding? I had thought that between Leo and me, it was just a transactional marriage, and getting the certificate would be the end of it. So when he asked me to choose a wedding venue, I couldn't help blurting that out. Leo said solemnly, the family rules don't allow hidden marriages. Oh, in my heart, I complained that I wondered just how many landmines Leo's ancestors had stepped on for them to care so much about their descendants' love lives and marriages. Leo said, don't worry, I'll slowly reveal to Dad that we're married. The date can be set after he's well enough to attend the wedding. Leo's slowly reveal meant going to the hospital every day. My dad went from feeling overwhelmed by the honor at first to later finding it unbearable. Why does he have so much free time? After Leo left again, my dad anxiously grabbed my hand. Daughter, no matter how good he is, we can't start thinking about being a mistress. If he uses his power and status to force you, Dad will fight him to the bitter end and won't let him bully you. I asked the caregiver, what has my dad been watching lately? The caregiver answered, the young madam's 99 escapes and the CEO's canary has fainted again. Afraid that he would keep overthinking things, I told him to mentally prepare himself because I had news to tell him. Leo and I have already registered our marriage. My dad froze. What certificate? Marriage certificate. Oh, marriage certificate. Congratulations. Congratulations. Then he suddenly reacted. You're Leo's wife. The one who didn't sign a prenuptial agreement? I'm the gold digger you were talking about. The corner of my dad's mouth lifted. Nonsense. What gold digger? Clearly, he has good taste. Just like that, Leo and I became official in front of my dad. When he came again, he openly called him Dad. It felt like having Leo as a son-in-law worked better on my dad's condition than medicine. His body improved day by day. Eric's friend Hudson called and said Eric was getting engaged to Amelia at a hotel tomorrow. He's just acting out of anger toward you. Lower your head a little. Come over. Give him a way out. He won't really get engaged to Amelia. The one he loves most in his heart is still you. Noisy background sounds came from the other end of the phone. Eric's voice, laced with alcohol and full of indifference, came through. Who told you to call her? She can come or not. Whatever. Someone over there quietly advised him to say less. His voice grew even louder. Did I beg her? Tell her it's best if she doesn't come. I calmly said to Hudson, I won't go. Please wish them happiness and a long life together for me. The person on the other end froze for a moment. Helen. I hung up the phone. The instant my finger ended the call, a crisp sound came from the other side. It seemed a wine glass had been smashed on the floor. Someone shouted, Eric, what are you doing? I turned around. Leo was leaning against the doorframe, looking at me. Chapter 10. Leo smiled a little forlornly. Although I really want to say I don't care at all, it seems I can't do that. He lowered his eyes, his eyelashes casting a shadow beneath them. After all, you've known each other longer, and you're closer in age. As for me, I'm so much older than you. I looked at him expressionlessly. All right. Stop pretending. You, feeling inferior? Is a 6-year age difference that big? Although I hadn't known him for long, I had been schemed into his traps countless times, one after another. I couldn't say I understood him 100%, but at least there was one thing I was sure of: something like low self-esteem could never grow in a favored son of heaven like him. Leo took a step closer. The forlornness in his eyes instantly disappeared, replaced by a smile full of regret. Helen. He lowered his head to look at me, his voice carrying a helpless yet doting sigh. You really understand me more and more. We were very close. His gaze was calm, and the line of his lips was thin and sharp. He looked refined and elegant, yet arrogance and distance seeped from his bones. At this moment, intense desire surged in his eyes. I thought I could trick you into pitying me, trick you into giving me a hug, or a kiss. He stared straight at me, his voice low and hoarse. I didn't back down. I lifted my chin, stood on tiptoe, and reached out to hook my arms around his neck. No need to trick me, I said. Helen, don't provoke me. I'm not a saint. I pressed my lips to his and murmured, I never asked you to be a saint. Before my words had fully fallen, he turned the tables. He kissed me until I could barely breathe. My clothes turned into rags in his hands. At the crucial moment, the phone rang. I pushed him. The phone, Leo answered in a hoarse voice. On the other end, his assistant said there was a dinner appointment that afternoon. Send someone else. After saying that irritably, he directly turned off his phone and tossed it aside. His shirt had already been pulled, all wrinkled by me. He pulled off his tie, unbuttoned his shirt one button at a time, and took it off. Every single movement was sexy to the extreme. Helen, do you like what you see? My gaze slid from his collarbones down to his abs. I curved my lips provocatively. It looks good, but I still don't know if it's useful. Leo froze for a moment, then gave a cold smile. You really don't know whether you're courting death. And so, I was taught a very harsh lesson. From dawn to nightfall, the battlefield changed again and again. Was it useful? He asked. My voice was already hoarse, and my bones felt as if they had fallen apart. But I still refused to admit defeat. Average. Fine. He gritted his teeth. In the end, both sides suffered heavy losses. The next day, neither of us could get out of bed. Chapter 11. At 11:30, Helen still hadn't appeared. Eric stood at the entrance, his gaze fixed tightly on the doorway, his expression darkening bit by bit. Amelia stood beside him, her smile strained. She hoped Helen wouldn't come. From the first time she saw Helen, she had disliked that woman. Back then, she was working part-time at a bar and was being harassed by a customer. It was Helen who had stepped forward to help her. But she wasn't grateful. Her heart was filled only with dissatisfaction and resentment. What right did Helen have to sit there so radiantly, surrounded like the moon among stars, spoiled, loved, and respected by others? And what about her? Her parents favored her younger brother. She had to force smiles at the bar, had to be groped by others and still smile through it. She didn't even hate the customer who had taken advantage of her. She hated Helen, hated her beauty, hated her elegance, hated her kindness, hated how clean she was, hated how generous and dignified she was. So when Eric's gaze brushed lightly over her, she decided she would steal this man away. Later, she indeed got into Eric's bed. She took the heart that Helen's father needed. She thought she had one, just a little more, and she would cross class lines and become someone greater than Helen. Time passed minute by minute. The guests began whispering among themselves. Why were the two people getting engaged still standing at the entrance? Amelia forced a smile and tugged at Eric's sleeve. Eric, it's about to start. It's time to go on stage. Eric didn't move. He stubbornly stared at the doorway and called his assistant. How is the search for the heart source going? The assistant hesitated for a moment. Boss, Miss Helen's father's surgery has already been completed. Eric abruptly tightened his grip on the phone. You're talking nonsense. How could the surgery be done without a heart? It seems the heart was provided by a medical institution under the Leo family group, and the surgery was also performed at their hospital. Eric only felt as if something had slipped out of his control. Leo, why would he help her? The assistant didn't speak. Eric's heart sank to the bottom. He muttered in a low voice, as if comforting himself. Helen couldn't possibly like someone else. She endured for so many years. She won't leave me. Amelia tugged at his arm again. Eric, the ceremony is about to start. Eric suddenly turned his head and stared at this woman who had still made him feel comfortable just yesterday. Affected, vain, greedy for money. The kind of woman who could be taken to bed as long as there was money. What part of her could compare with Helen? When Amelia leaned toward him, he violently pushed her away. Get lost! Stay away from me! Amelia was wearing very high heels and, caught off guard, fell to the ground. She hadn't expected Eric to embarrass her in front of so many people. She had thought that since he could give her the heart, it meant he had feelings for her. But it turned out, he had also treated her as a plaything. Eric looked at her with disgust, his voice full of displaced anger. It's all because you took that heart that Helen and I became like this. Amelia sat fallen on the ground, lifted her head, and for the first time revealed a mocking smile. Eric, you're the one who keeps changing women. Helen leaving you was only a matter of time. If you want to blame someone, the person you should blame most is yourself. Why are you taking your anger out on me? The one most at fault is you. Eric's chest rose and fell violently. He turned and strode outside. He was going to see Helen. He suddenly remembered the video of her kowtowing. How had he failed to see it in time back then? Why had he given the heart to someone else? Chapter 12. When I came out of the studio, Eric was waiting outside. He stood at the entrance holding a large bouquet of roses. When he saw me come out, he immediately stepped forward. Helen, I was wrong before. From now on, I'll never mess around again. From now on, it'll just be the two of us. He handed the bouquet to me. I lowered my head and glanced at it, but didn't take it. He probably hadn't expected this reaction from me, because his smile stiffened for an instant. Then, as if he had made some kind of decision, his knees bent, and he knelt straight down. He took a ring box out of his pocket, and the diamond ring flashed under the streetlight. He looked up at me, unease and pleading filling his eyes, his voice very soft. Helen, will you marry me? The streetlight illuminated his features clearly. For an instant, I was dazed. When he confessed to me the year we graduated from high school, he had been like this too. He said, Helen, I will never be like my father. I want to be a devoted and faithful man. In this lifetime, I'll only be good to you. At that time, his eyes had been red. I believed him. Later, in the end, he still became his father. I stood there, unmoved. His expression changed from uneasy to panicked. Helen, his voice began to tremble. With all these years of feelings between us, you wouldn't bear to give them up, right? I looked at him, under the streetlight. His face was still that same face, with highbrow bones and deep-set eyes. But suddenly, I found him unfamiliar. I couldn't help letting out a cold laugh. So you relied on all those years of feelings to hurt me however you wanted? His lips moved. Why? Why do you think I should always wait for you in the same place? He shifted forward half a step on his knees. That's not it. Helen, listen to me. The person I've loved most in my heart has always been you. Those women were the ones who threw themselves at me. They took the initiative, and I just couldn't hold back. I was really only playing around with them. Eric, I interrupted him. If you admitted that your heart changed, that you got distracted by someone new, I would only think you were a scumbag. But if you push all the blame onto women, I think you're disgusting. His face instantly turned white. He couldn't say a single word. It would make me regret it. Regret wasting all these years of my youth on a coward who doesn't even dare admit his own mistakes. He knelt there, his arms slowly dropping. Clap, clap, clap. Not far away, someone applauded. Leo walked over from the parking lot. His figure was stretched long by the streetlight. His steps were calm, and there was a faint smile in his eyes. He walked to my side and stopped. Naturally, he took the bag that had slipped from my shoulder and hung it over his own arm. Then he turned to look at Eric, who was still kneeling on the ground, and looked him over from above. My wife is right. Someone who even pushes his own mistakes onto others, isn't that exactly a coward? He asked with a smile. Mr. Eric, what do you think? Chapter 13. Eric's eyes were bloodshot with rage, as if I had done something to betray him. Helen, after all these years between us, you're actually with another man. When a person is speechless to a certain point, they end up finding it funny. Eric, are you even worthy of mentioning all those years of feelings? Weren't you the one who cheated again and again? Weren't you the one who said that if we broke up, that would be perfect, because you could give Amelia a proper status? He clenched his teeth, as if my words had stabbed him. He stole you away. He suddenly turned toward Leo, his eyes red. Leo, you're shameless, stealing someone else's woman. He clenched his fist and swung it at Leo. I had never seen Leo hit someone so ruthlessly. Eric fought like a street brawler, but Leo had properly learned Muay Thai. Every punch was accurate and vicious. Seeing people about to gather around, I called out, "We should go. We'll miss the movie." Leo stopped. Eric half knelt on the ground, gasping for breath, then raised his eyes to look at me. Helen, there was pleading in that gaze. I didn't look at him. I walked straight toward Leo and raised my hand to touch the bruise at the corner of his mouth. Does it hurt? I'll go with you to the hospital to have it checked. Eric watched helplessly as Helen, who had once cried for him, walked toward another man without looking back. In that instant, the pain in his heart far surpassed the injuries on his body. In a daze, he understood what Helen had felt when he had held other women. It felt like his heart was being cut with a knife. He was unwilling to accept it. Helen, do you think the person beside you is any good? He braced his hands on his knees and stood up. He had plans for you long ago. Everything was planned by him. He wanted to steal you from me a long time ago. Leo's expression changed slightly, and he turned his head to glance at me. I turned around and looked at Eric. A trace of hope appeared on his face, but what I said next made him even more hopeless. Eric, was Leo the one who forced you into bed with those women? Was Leo the one who forced you to give the heart to someone else? Eric's expression became panicked, his face pale as paper. He still wanted to say something, but I no longer wanted to listen. I pulled Leo away. Behind us came the sound of sobbing. Chapter 14. Actually, I knew you a long time ago, Leo said. I froze when I heard that. When? If I had met someone like him a long time ago, there was no way I wouldn't remember. He looked at me, a very faint smile in his eyes. When you were in your first year of high school, I returned to my alma mater to give a speech and happened to see you. See what? See a female warrior. He paused, his expression strange, one against many, and not at a disadvantage at all. I suddenly remembered that was when my dad's business was just starting out, and I had just transferred into the best high school there. I didn't know how I had provoked them. Maybe my existence itself was an offense. That afternoon, several girls cornered me in the restroom. The one leading them folded her arms and leaned against the doorframe, saying she wanted to teach me a lesson. There were many of them. In terms of physical strength, I was no match for them, so I picked up the mop used by the cleaners in the corner. I gripped it, stirred it hard several times in the restroom, then swung it straight at those girls. I swung it with no technique at all, like a madwoman who had nothing to lose. They screamed, their pretty faces paling, and ran out while covering their heads. I stood at the restroom door holding that mop, panting heavily. My hair loosened too, like a cat with its fur standing on end. That scene had been seen by Leo. My ears began to heat up. That wasn't me, or rather, that wasn't the me I wanted him to see. The me I wanted him to see was Helen in an evening gown, holding a wine glass and smiling with a distant nod at a banquet. It was Helen sitting in the studio drawing design drafts, quietly drinking coffee. Actually, I'm usually very elegant. I tried hard to salvage my image, my voice growing softer and softer as I spoke. Leo couldn't hold back and laughed. It wasn't his usual faint, polite lift of the lips. His eyes curved, and his shoulders trembled slightly. But I thought you were very brave. His voice carried the slight hoarseness of someone who had just laughed. Very smart. Very interesting. So back then, you already... No. He interrupted me, knowing what I was going to ask. I just remembered you. Leo still remembered that girl standing at the doorway with the mop raised, her eyes bright like two burning stars. She held that mop as if she were holding a flag. So later, when he met her at the hospital, He felt that the girl who had raised a mop shouldn't be kneeling on the ground and kowtowing. Chapter 15. On the night before the wedding, Eric's mother called. Helen, Eric is in a very bad state. Could you come see him? Auntie, there's no need for me to see him again. The other end of the phone was silent for a long time. Then she sighed. I understand. Helen, you're a good child. He's just like his father. A rotten man. He's the one who wronged you. After that, I never heard any news about Eric again. My dad's health gradually improved, and the company also returned to the right track. My jewelry design studio became famous because of the pair of rings from Leo's and my wedding. Many wealthy people came to me, wanting to customize unique, one-of-a-kind jewelry. In the 3rd year after our marriage, we had a daughter, the only girl of the next generation in Leo's family. My parents-in-law were overjoyed and directly gave her an island, plus countless precious paintings and calligraphy works. That day, when we went to pick up our daughter from school, we saw Eric on the road. He had grown terribly thin, standing by the roadside, his gaze fixed straight in our direction. Leo wrapped an arm around me and our daughter, opened the car door, and didn't look back. In the car, Leo told me that Eric had caught a dirty disease, passed to him by one of his new lovers. He beat that woman half to death and almost caused a fatal incident. Stay away from him from now on. I wasn't surprised at all. He had never been someone who could settle down. Even if he still thought of me in his heart, he would never remain chaste like in novels. For him to reach this point had only been a matter of time. Our daughter sat in the back seat, holding up her drawing, calling out in her childish voice, "We're going home." I only felt fortunate. After leaving someone who drained me, the sky outside the window was clear and endless.